Okay. Hello, Olga. This is Ellen Crane. Welcome to the College of Fellows Voices for the Future. And it's my pleasure to welcome Olga Wilson, who has been with the College of Fellows as a member since 2014. Thank you for joining this program, Olga, and we're very excited to hear about your career and your experience with the College of Fellows. So, can we start with your career? I see that you have lived all over the world, all over the country. You've had a very impressive career, 2 master's degrees. Do you mind starting with just a quick overview of your experience and maybe pick out 1 or 2 examples of highlights in your career that you used as part of your application for the College of Fellows?
Okay. Oh my, that was quite an experience to write the application for the College of Fellows. It was a beautiful experience because you don't really realize it in that moment, but when you're going through everything, it's your whole life, and then you say, wow, I did this and I did that, So so many things play into everything. It's not just one thing. First of all is the learning experience, I have always wanted to learn more and more of everything. So, and you don't realize you have that. So now I can look back and I see that was key to everything, and how you correlate one experience with another. So they're building blocks on how they work. So being in Puerto Rico, I studied, English literature, French literature, beautiful. Then I started working, and it was the French that helped me get the job because we needed to do translations for this new resort that was going to be built in Puerto Rico on the East Coast. Then later, years go by, I get married, my husband, Wilson, and he's in the Coast Guard. So we moved to Hawaii. And it's very interesting because Hawaii, being an island, Puerto Rico being, a territory of the U.S., there are so many similarities. And then, you start linking, okay, why is this here and not there, and vice versa? So there is a lot of political nuances that play. And then, of course, the experiences I had. I always, how could I say? I always had PRSA with me because I was a member since 1983. And that's when I became a member. We took the APR exam the old way, which was with pencil. And we had the interview with Mr. Pesolano, who came to San Juan, and all of that. So anyway, the APR was the rock. I had the APR. Wow. So I went to Hawaii with my husband. He immediately, in less than a month, he had to go to Alaska on a ship with the Coast Guard. So there I was looking for a job. It's very difficult when you don't know anyone. But anyway, besides the point, you keep trolling, and I did get a job that said that I would be paid after we found a client. I got home and I cried,
I bet.
Because I had my portfolio, which had American Airlines and Del Monte and Walgreens and all of that. So, okay, that's the way it is. So we keep going. But being in Hawaii, I did 2 beautiful jobs or projects. One was this seatbelt law was passed, and then we had to make sure that the people understood. Well, one thing that is beautiful is that we have so many different cultures. We have the Chinese, the Portuguese, the Korean, the Japanese. Puerto Ricans are there, the Americans. Well, the Asian ones are very law-abiding citizens. So they, would be very law-abiding and do everything. And the rate of acceptance was, in 3 years, it was really high, the highest in the States. And that was in the 80s, 1980s. And we did lots of things. Then, because of the contacts I made there, I started working at the Department of Transportation of the state with what was transportation. It had a connection with seatbelt laws and everything. But there was a person, a deputy, that she was in charge of Open Skies initiative for the Pacific with the governor of Hawaii, John Wahe at the time. And then she took me over. So, it was just changing desks, And that was insanely interesting. It was working with all those nations and then preparing all the islands of the state of Hawaii to be built up, the airport system, and make sure that the entry with immigration and all of that was up to speed, because Hawaii wanted more tourists. Of course, that had a component that I learned there that was with Washington, D.C., because the airlines needed to fight, I would say, or to try to get that route. So when then came the time that my husband had to be transferred, and guess what? He was going to be transferred to the East Coast. So then they asked me, well, would you work for us on these same things, but from Washington, D.C., with the law firm and the legislative group and everything? So there I go.
That worked perfectly, no, right? Wow.
So then you learn all the nuances here and there, and guess what? That same law firm had Puerto Rico as a client.
No way.
And they also were looking for permits and licenses to build a newer tower in the airport in San Juan. So I work on that too. It was beautiful.
What an incredible career.
When I finished doing that, I went back to Virginia Beach, where I was with my husband that was working in Portsmouth, Virginia. And I said, you know what? I want to go back to school. So that's when I did my first master's, and I wanted it in international relations. And I loved that. You learn so much, all the things you shouldn't know, but they're there, and then you discover, and you link this and that and the other. It was amazing. I always used to tell my students, you never stop learning.
Right.
You have to have that situational awareness where you learn, but you need to inquire. And so what? And then what happened? And why did it happen? Because there is a connection.
Yeah.
So in 97, when we went back to San Juan, then as a matter of fact, they contacted me, the same PR agency I used to work for before leaving to Hawaii. But then this time, they offered me, it was a administrative manager for the whole. And there, I was for about 4 or 5 years with excellent clients, Walgreens being one of them, and we did so many things, crisis communication as well, and then I got an offer with the Banco Popular de Puerto Rico, which is the largest and longest living bank. So, and there I was head of the communication department, and I was really invited to join them. And at the point when I signed my contract, I didn't know. But once I signed and everything was, legal between them and me, then they call and say, "Well, come back tomorrow." And then they say, "Okay, the reason why you're being hired is because Banco Popular de Puerto Rico, that was in 2002, was encountering a money laundering accusation, and I had to deal with that." That was after the,
and they didn't tell you
hours.
until after you joined. Oh my goodness.
So, it was like, oh my God. Okay.
Crisis communication.
And we couldn't talk about that. It was the CEO, the legal team, and myself. Nobody in my communications division knew that. They were 20-something people, but they, I supervised whatever they were doing in other departments. But that was like, I couldn't, talk. It was very sad, I have to say. It was a very sad time, because the problem was that the CEO had to accept the fact that there was going to be a money to be paid. So, and that for him was so hard, because that meant accepting that they did it. But the options were awful. So,
so what was your main
with him, and then what the board told him, no, don't do that, don't go to the media, don't have any interview, and being together with him, that was so powerful, and it still is, and all his friends, board of directors, and he was taking advice. And I remember at that meeting, and that was a pivotal point, and then he looked to the side after he received all this advice, and then he asked me, "Well, Olga, what do you think?" I tell you, it gave me a pain right here in the stomach. But anyway, I, seriously and very composed. And I said, "Well, the history of the bank has been that it has worked for over 100 years with the people of Puerto Rico. They are used to seeing everybody from your family in positions where they have shared the good, the bad, and the ugly. It is important that you speak with them, that they see your face, your eyes, that you talk to them, to each one of them. It's not a press release. It's not enough. You have to do it." And there I was. And he did it. He did it. That was after all those people said, no. Well, he did it. And later on, I did another master's in communications here at Texas State, where I also taught. And I did a whole thesis on that issue, on that, what happened there. In hindsight, you see all the political things with the 9/11, what laws were in place, the money laundering, the drug cartels, and Justice Department in the U.S. needed to send a message. Well,
They used them as
there
an
was
example. Wow.
what really surprised me was that the Puerto Rico media never made connections. You know, it could have been
Interesting.
worse.
Wow, what a great
But
experience, though, right? What a great teachable moment. And
yes,
did you ever dream that all of this would culminate with the College of Fellows application? Was that like in your mind at all? Like, at what point did you like, I'm gonna pull this together and apply to the College of Fellows?
well, I always looked at the College of Fellows because of a former boss and friend and mentor, and that's Fernando Valverde. He passed on 2 years ago during COVID, but he was the one that prepared a group in Puerto Rico for the APR back in 1983. He pushed for PRSA 100% of the time. So he always wanted me to be a fellow. But then at the time, when I used to go to the PRSA icon meetings and everything, and then he would say, well, go and meet them. And they were so, and I said, oh my, I know it's awful. And I said, well, maybe I should wait longer because maybe I'm not ready. And then that's the beauty of it.
So here we
Between
are.
2014, when I when I was accepted and joined the fellows, and now I see such a change. Not because it was bad before, but because there is so much more energy in youth, that everybody's still working. I mean, I don't know. We'll find out after the survey how many are working and not and retired.
But a lot. It's I know it's very active. And what would you say to a younger professional coming up that may be aspiring to be in the college? What other benefits are?
Well, I would tell them, if they are, for example, if they're a student getting to the PRSA chapter, definitely learn, because you're going to learn not only about PRSA, but about leadership positions. You're going to learn from the professionals around you. Take the APR exam while you're senior or when you graduate. Work, get as many internships, paid or not paid, if you can, and do volunteer job where you can learn from others, and then do the APR, and then after, the next thing will be the fellow, because it's a circle,
Yeah.
It doesn't end with the APR. I see it as a continuum.
It doesn't even end
that
with
way
College of
you are.
Fellows, right?
I'm sorry?
It doesn't end with College of Fellows, right?
Exactly. And then it's not going to be that, so definitely. And I think there's more, how would I say, there is a window of opportunity now. The College of Fellows is also seeing how PRSA is changing according to how the world is changing.
Right.
All the challenges we are meeting through all the committees and also in our workspace as well.
So, before we wrap up, is there
Yes.
anything we haven't talked about that you would say about your experience with the College of Fellows to encourage others to think about that as part of their career plan?
I have learned a lot since 2014. Not only in the way it is, but also the position of the college, where it was in 2014, where it is now, and where the leadership wants to take it, which is at another level as a very important part of that professional development, with more attention to diversity.
Right.
And me being one with the accent and the funny accent and everything. But still, you know, the main thing is that you can be from anywhere and still you can have an accent or no accent or whatever.
Right.
But your experience and everything that you bring is so important for everybody else to learn. And for me to learn from everyone around.
Exactly.
And you're wonderful. I think not only have I met professionals, but I have made friends
Right.
with many like you,
Right.
you know, and it's so wonderful just to see and sit and it's like we have known each other forever.
Right. Well, you are so wonderful to be a part of Voices for the Future, and thank you for your time. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you, Olga.
Okay, thank you.
Recording stopped.
All right, you are awesome. Oops.